Ghana Tonight is brought to you by
Flamingo Pay.
Well, it's the beginning of another week. Good evening. Welcome. This is Ghana Tonight. We're live from Sabata Desawe Kanda, also live on TV3 Ghana on Facebook and on DSTV channel 279. We're all across the world on 3news.com. I am Alfred Ocansey. Tonight, Office of the Special Prosecutor fends off suggestions that it is frustrating the extradition process of former Finance Minister Kenneth Nana Ofori-Atta by holding on to the docket. We have a 360 conversation as we hear from the OSP, the Attorney General's office, and the anti-graft campaigners on this matter. More trouble for former National Petroleum Authority boss Mustafa Hamid as nine others as the Office of the Special Prosecutor presses a double of the charges previously preferred against them. We'll look deeper to see what exactly is different. Stay with us. At least 4 persons have been confirmed dead in Garu and several others injured after gunmen carried out what appears to be a targeted attack in Garu in the Upper East region. We're live in the area. Stay with us here on Ghana Tonight. We have also this and more, including Parliament resuming tomorrow and what this particular session of Parliament will be considering. We'll give you a few highlights on this. As always, you're an integral part of the conversation. Let's hear from you. The hashtag we're using is Ghana Tonight on Facebook and on X. Let's get talking. Let's settle for Ghana Briefs.
The government of Ghana has announced plans to establish special courts to expedite the handling of cases arising from audit infractions identified in the Auditor General's reports. This decision was reached following a high-level meeting on Monday, October 20, 2025, between the President John Dramani Mahama, the Chief Justice, the Attorney General, and the Auditor General. The meeting focused on measures to strengthen the enforcement of findings contained in the Auditor General's reports. The Office of the Special Prosecutor, OSP, has denied reports that its officials are at loggerheads with the Attorney General and Minister of Justice, Dr. Dominic Ayine, over the extradition of former Finance Minister Ken Ofori-Atta to Ghana for prosecution. The OSP assured that it would rather work with the AG to ensure lawful prosecution of Mr. Ofori-Atta. This follows revelation by the Deputy Attorney General, Dr. Justice Ramsai, that the AG's office, despite repeated requests, has still not received the docket required for the extradition of Ken Ofori-Atta. Four people have been confirmed dead and several injured after gunmen carried out a targeted attack in Garu in the Upper East region in the early hours of Monday. According to security sources, the armed men opened fire at the local NHIS office and killed one person on the spot. The security sources said the gunmen then moved towards the Garu school area, where 2 more individuals, including a head teacher, were fatally shot. The armed men, while leaving the town, reportedly also shot and killed another man, bringing the number of deaths to 4. The attack has since left residents gripped with fear and panic. The Criminal Investigation Department of the Ghana Police Service in the Ashanti region is investigating the death of a Senegalese in Ghana. According to police, the 20-year-old identified as Keith Toure was admitted to the Menchia Government Hospital under false pretenses. Toure's death has sparked international interest. A Facebook account belonging to international sports journalist Fabrizio Romano hints Toure was lured into Ghana for football tryouts but was kidnapped and held to ransom. DSP God Ahianyo is the Ashanti Regional Head of Public Affairs Units.
3 persons brought him from the Menchia Government Hospital. So the investigation had to be taken to the Menchia Government Hospital. When the officers got to the Menchia Hospital and they spoke to the management or the authority at the hospital, they also mentioned that yes, on Thursday at around 1 p.m., they were there when 3 persons brought in the victim with some injuries. They suspected a machete wound around his neck and his abdomen. The intestines was allegedly gushing out.
Ghana Water Limited requires in excess of 300 million cedis to dredge its treatment plants apart from the Barakesi plant, which has largely been affected by activities of galamsey, sand winning and construction. Last year alone, some 64 million cedis was used to dredge the Owabi treatment plant. Managing Director Adam Mutawakilu insists the declaration of a state of emergency is not the ultimate solution to address the menace.
If you declare state of emergency in one area, they will migrate to another area. So at the end of the day, the whole Ghana will be in the state of emergency. It's what measures can we put in place for it to be sustained? You declare state of emergency, so for how many years? When the people continue, the day you leave the state of emergency, when they go back, we can't have state of emergency forever. So there must be pragmatic measures, as the President Mama had put it, to make sure that we put in measures to sustain it, and that will be sustained forever.
It's more news on 3news.com. Make some time and visit 3news.com. This is Ghana Tonight. We're live on 3FM 92.7, also on TV3 Ghana on Facebook and on DSTV channel 279, all across the world on 3news.com. And also, it's proudly brought to you by Flamingo Paint, Simply Superior, Sasso Insecticide Spray and Coil, Tum Preco. Coming up next year on Ghana Tonight. It's not good news. Tonight, at least 4 persons have been confirmed dead and several others injured in a suspected targeted attack in Garu in the Upper East region. Now, we're live on the ground with the latest on this matter, and just to set the basis for this and what we're gathering right now. This is a story that we've been paying close attention to over the last 2 hours. It's been unfolding in a very tragic way. 4 people have been confirmed dead and several injured after gunmen carried out a targeted attack in the Garu and the Upper East region in the early hours of today. That we got information. According to security sources, the armed men opened fire at the local National Health Insurance Scheme office and killed 1 person on the spot. The security sources also say the gunmen then moved towards the Garu school area where 2 more individuals, including a head teacher, were fatally shot. Now, the armed men, while leaving the town, reportedly also shot and killed another man, bringing the number of at least the confirmed deaths to 4 as we speak. We'll get an update on that, so stay with us. The attack has since left residents gripped fear and panic. And now, thankfully, we have the Member of Parliament for the Garu constituency, Dr. Thomas Anaba, is joining us on Zoom right now. Dr. Anaba, good evening. Thank you for joining us. If you can unmute for me, please.
Thank you, Ocansey, for having me. I would say good evening to you, not so good for us in Garu. And good evening to
Absolutely.
your cherished viewers and listeners.
It is indeed not so good. The information we got earlier and the sequence that I've just run through, is it consistent with the briefing that you have received from the Regional Security Council?
Yeah, it is consistent from what I've received from all courtesies, including citizens or natives of the Garu township, that 4 people were gunned down and several others injured. Those who were injured were taken to Garu Hospital. Some were taken to other district hospital close, treated, some discharged, but I'm told 4 people are still seriously injured and they are within the Garu Hospital. That is what I've gathered.
I see.
The assailants, as you heard, came from nowhere, directly went to the National Health Insurance Office to ask for the director of the National Health Insurance. And in his absence, they rather shot one of his staff down and left the place. On their way out, they went to the school, as you said, to shoot down the head teacher and continued on the road to pave their way out of Garu, shooting people on the way to be able to leave Garu.
Now, you say that he went there to ask, or the gunman went there to ask of the National Health Insurance Director of at the Garu office.
Yes, that is what exactly happened. Yes. They went and asked of him and they said he wasn't around. Then they saw one gentleman there who was in his office and they shot him and he died instantly at the place. So it became a very sorrowful state. Garu, as we speak now, is in shock. Let me say the whole of Garu is now very alert. And let me thank the youth and everybody for the unity that we saw in Garu today, how they have come together to mobilize to monitor Garu. Garu is a very peaceful town, and we know of Garu is a town that is very observant of new people coming in. If you remember last 2 years, there was a strange vehicle that went to Garu. They tried to understand what the vehicle was doing there. It brought about a confusion between there and government because they had to attack the vehicle to see what was inside. But I think this thing came as a surprise to the good people of Garu. So therefore, the sympathy and love for each other today in Garu has grown so hard that even though we've called security there, I think the vigilance there is now so tight that it will be difficult for anybody again to penetrate the next time to Garu to cause any harm they intend to do. That notwithstanding, I think the military have already arrived there and they are taking good positions to ensure that no one enters Garu. The good thing is that they didn't occur between people within Garu. It occurred, the shooting was done by people who came outside Garu. So there is no panic within Garu people themselves. There's no tension between people in Garu themselves. It is now a united Garu to look for intruders and people who will come from outside to attempt entering Garu. That is the good news, that it's not coming from, it is not a conflict within the town. That is the good thing about it.
But
the sad thing is that we lost 4 of our valuable members.
Indeed, and that's what I'm going to get to, because this thing happened in broad daylight. From the reports we're monitoring, as about 10 a.m. this morning.
Yes,
I mean,
exactly. It happened in broad daylight. That is why people were able to run after. Some people were brave enough to try to run after them. When the shooting started and they started running, they ran into some forest and took off and were able to run away from the Garu township. That's what really happened. They first went to the office, as we said. People saw them, even though no one can corroborate the motor number, the number plate of the motors. They were in smokes. And then after they shot the guy, they went to the school on their way, shot the head teacher, then continued their route to wherever they came from, and then shot people on the way and hurt a lot of people who were treated at the Garu hospital. People trooped there in their numbers to support them, to give them courage, and people rushed to the families that lost their relatives to mourn with them and even help them take graves to see whether they could bury them, especially those who were Muslims. So that is what really happened. As we sit now, Garu is in a very distressed state. The mood in Garu is not good. The mood is vigilance. The mood is awareness. The mood is watching everywhere in Garu. The mood is that no stranger would come there to cause any more harm to anybody there, because Garu, we don't have any conflict among ourselves. We live there, Kusasis, Bimobes, Frafras, Hausa, Moshis, Busangas. We live there very happily without any confusion. We don't know what is trying to cause this. So we leave everything into the hands of experts, the security agencies, the intelligence agencies, to make sure they unearth what really caused this shooting in Garu. Because we don't think it is armed robbery. If it was armed robbery, they should have gone to the bank that has money, the mobile money vendors that have money, the motor sellers who have money, but they went to the National Health Insurance. Poor National Health Insurance that has no money in there to ask for somebody, and later on even shot a teacher. A teacher is not in the bank, he has no money. So to us, it shouldn't be anything about armed robbery. I think it was a targeted killing. We suspect it is a targeted killing that was going to take place, and it has taken place on unfortunate people who perhaps were not the targets.
Well, we'll see what the police's investigation will bring out of this, because then it will be easy to conclude that it wasn't robbery because they didn't take anything from the NHIS office. So yes, but then again, the police will have to do that work of telling us exactly what this was. But then also thinking about the fact that this public school that was close to, or that is close to this NHIS office there, they went to this public school, teachers were running for their lives, and they just gunned down one teacher. And then this other gentleman who was on his way to the market, they saw him by the roadside, just gunned him down. And later, this gentleman has been identified as a chief. Do you know this? Do you know this, that this other person is actually a chief in the area?
Yes, exactly. Mr. Jacob Anasa is the chief of a community called Wedichengo, and he's even the appointee of the Kusasi traditional area to the Assembly of Garu. So he's a well-respected man in Garu. The bank in Garu, he was one of the people, together with my father, who founded the Vespa Bank in Garu. So he's well-known, very humble man, very nice man. That's why he became a chief of the community. That's why he was appointed to the assembly to be a member of the assembly. So I know him personally. I've lived with him. I always go to his house anytime I go to Garu. Very cooperative, somebody who appreciates human life. It is so sad that this man has been killed. The head teacher too, similarly, the children like this head teacher. He like organizing activities for them. They are loved. All those who died are actually people who have no track record of any criminality or any bad deeds. They are well loved by the good people of Garu. It's very unfortunate that their lives have been ended tragically in this manner. We hope that the security agencies will try to unearth the perpetrators, and then we can bring them to book. And we'll also put an end to this terror that befell Garu today. We hope that God will give them the vim, and their intelligence will tell us, point to us where these people came from and how they got into Garu, so that would put calm back to Garu. Garu so far, I think, is getting calm, but people are very vigilant. Now the local task force that is in charge of monitoring the community is now going to be well activated, and we shall support them to ensure that they cooperate with the police to make sure anybody who is not from our community, not from Garu, and is found wanting in Garu, must be answering some few questions for us to be certain that he's not in to do any harm again. Okay. So that one, definitely we are going to do it.
And I thank you for taking some time to talk to us tonight. Thank you so much. And this is one that we will come back to in the coming days. A member of parliament for the Garu constituency, Dr. Thomas Anaba, and there. This is Ghana Tonight. Coming up next, the Office of the Special Prosecutor stalling Colonel Furiata's extradition. That is the question that we're going to get some answers to from all sides, in fact, because the Office of the Special Prosecutor has been responding to this position, and then also those who align with the Attorney General, there's a Deputy Attorney General who expressed these concerns earlier today, are also very strong in their conviction that it is indeed the case that the OSP is frustrating this process and that there's an avenue for Colonel Furiata to be tried in absentia. The OSP has ruled that out even today. There's no room for trial in absentia. We'll hear from one person who strongly backs that call for a trial in absentia. Kofi Bento is private legal practitioner, is going to be joining us shortly. The Office of Special Prosecutor has denied reports that it is at loggerheads with the Office of the Attorney General over the extradition of the former Finance Minister Kenneth Anaya Furiata to Ghana to face prosecution. The OSP assured that it would rather work with the Attorney General to ensure lawful prosecution of Ken Ofori-Atta. Now, this follows the revelations earlier today by the Deputy Attorney General, Dr. Justice Shremsai, that the AG's office still hasn't received the docket from the OSP on this Ken Ofori-Atta case. Let's take a listen to Dr. Shremsai, and then Dennis Poberi-Wadam Esquire is going to be joining me in a bit. But take a look at this.
Mr. Ken Ofori-Atta is a subject of a number of criminal investigations, right? I think the one that is popular is the one that the OSP is conducting. And also, that is the one that we are made to believe is in an advanced stage where extradition will be required. And indeed, the OSP has already put the person on red alerts, Interpol red alerts. What it means is that it's a notice to the whole world that this person is a wanted man. But the Interpol alert is not an extradition, procedure. So if we really want the person to come, we need to make an extradition request to where we believe he is, which is the US. Now, this is what's, and listen to me carefully on this. We are the only authority, that's the Attorney General Office, we are the only authority that can make extradition. But we need a docket from, an investigative docket from the OSP to be able to make this extradition request. As of today, we still do not have a docket from the OSP. We have made several requests to the OSP, written letters, written demands to the OSP, asking that now that you've announced to the world that you are ready to have this person extradited, and there have been communication to that effect that even we've seen communication to the effect that the docket is ready and it's only the Attorney General that can make the. So we have been asking for the docket for a couple of, I think about 2 months now. We still do not have the dockets from the OSP. And so without the dockets, you cannot go to the American authorities and say, this is the person we want him. No, you need to show, because when they are asking for people to be extradited to the United States, they bring the full docket of, as if they are going to court. And then we take that docket to court for the court to see whether there's really merit for, bringing the person down. We have to do the same thing. We also have to take a full docket of all the evidence and what we believe the law, and then we take it to the United States authorities, and they they will process the extradition and bring.
Oh, that's Dr. Shremsai there, quite clear in his words, and that raises for some questions and concerns about where we are with this Ken Ofori-Atta case. Hearing from the Deputy Attorney General, for that matter, Dennis Poberi-Wadam Esquire is with me, and you've been following this case right from this morning when we got this revelation. It sent a certain signal, does it not? This is not the first time we've had the Attorney General and the OSP, and this time there's no Ioko in it, but
not at all. Yes,
going at each other, or
we have worked this path before, except this is with different persons now occupying the same offices. I mean, it's still the same office of the Special Prosecutor, but this time around, in the office of the Attorney General, you have a different person in there.
True.
But to put the matters in their proper context, I mean, this is not really the first time this issue is coming up. It had come up already on social media with correspondence between the office of the Special Prosecutor, the office of the Chief of Staff, the Attorney General. And those correspondence, as we saw them, seemed to suggest that there was some request made on the OSP to give certain documents, just so we don't sound so legalese and use dockets. Yeah. Just say documents that will facilitate this extradition process. The extradition basically is how they can get former Finance Minister Ken Ofori-Atta back to Ghana to face the law. But what we heard from the Deputy Attorney General is more like now giving more meat to what we had already read on social media, or giving more veracity to it.
True.
And he was quite clear and instructive that yes, they've made requests, but they still do not have these documents. And he begins by saying that this is a case that a certain sense was created, and that for them to ask for those documents to help, and they are still not getting. In fact, as at the time he was granting the interview, he said as at the time he was speaking, they still did not have those documents. But of course,
this was the request they put 2 months ago.
Yes.
So
But of
what
course,
are
the Office of the Special Prosecutor hadn't spoken on this ever since the matter came up on social media. But when the Deputy Attorney General spoke on the matter, then some responses started coming in. First, we saw on the personal Facebook page of the Director of Strategy and Communications, Sami Dako. He had written at length to address the matter. Then shortly after that, there was a statement on the letterhead of the Office of the Special Prosecutor itself addressing, substantially, the two statements, both on Sami Dako's page and then on the OSP's letterhead, carry the same information. And that's to the effect that they wanted to put matters in their proper context. And the first thing they sought to do was to dismiss that seeming suggestion that there was some kind of friction between the Office of the Special Prosecutor and then the Attorney General's office in respect of the extradition processes involving the former finance minister. In doing so, they recount and admitting that indeed those correspondence that we saw on social media indeed were true, except to also express the fear that it compromises their own security, and to also say that they can say for a fact that those documents or those letters between the offices of the OSP, Chief of Staff, Attorney General, the leakage of those letters did not come from the OSP, and they are concerned that such leakages compromise the quality of work they'll be doing. But what's important is that in that particular, in the correspondence, they try to give timelines as to what really happened at what time, and the reason for which the the Attorney General still does not have the docket as he or as the office has requested.
So
And they basically make the point.
They're essentially making the point about they not frustrating the work.
So that the OSP does not sacrifice excellence. This talks about how speedy the Attorney General office wanted the docket and how the OSP also wanted to take its time to do the work, just so it does not sacrifice the quality of the work for its for expediency.
Did they say anything about the extradition process? Yeah.
Yes. Of course, they had to indicate that this whole extradition thing was based on the investigations by the OSP, just to say that they own it. So there's no point frustrating something that they themselves have actually started. And this is what they say in parts. That the OSP does not sacrifice excellence. No, let's go back a bit, because that's where they begin talking about the frustration aspect. Yes, that the OSP is not frustrating and will not frustrate its own extradition request. Therefore, there's absolutely no reason for the Attorney General's department to feel frustrated if that is the case in respect of the matter it is involved in. Then it goes on to now talk about the fact that the OSP does not sacrifice excellent and professional investigation on perceived frustration over a response. The extradition process is a multi-agency procedure involving several sequential steps and statutory actors. Now, mind you, Alfred, they make the case that along the line, while that engagement was ongoing, the OSP had to carry out some exercise at the offices of SML, in which they discovered some new material that they needed to analyze and evaluate. And that's when the Office of the Attorney General reached out on a second, making a request again for the dockets. They explained to them that the dockets will have to delay because they still were making the analysis of that material that they gathered in respect of SML. And that for them is the reason for which the docket delayed. But of course, they did concede that that engagement had been ongoing. Even beyond the written letters, there had been some other conversations between the Deputy Attorney General and then that's of the Office of the Special Prosecutor.
I see. It's interesting because you talk about no hint of what? Institutional cooperation breakdown. But then again, you have the Deputy Attorney General raising that concern about how long it has taken for them to have the documents they have been asking for in this particular regard. That assurance of the continuous collaboration or cooperation is important because, you see, it is for the greater good.
Precisely.
The Attorney General's office is the mother the office for the OSP.
They are the central authority when it comes to this.
They approve their budgets and so on. I mean, the OSP derives its authority from the AGs.
And this is even more crucial because when you look at what we are talking about, this extradition process, the Attorney General's office is the central authority. And that was why when the OSP made that request on the Chief of Staff, the sequence of communication was that the Chief of Staff referred the matter to the Attorney General. Attorney General now notifies the Office of the Special Prosecutor that, yes, I have received your extradition request. Kindly furnish me with further information, which included some officers that they required from the OSP to join in, and also the dockets. The officers were assigned all right, but the docket did not come, based on that explanation they gave along the line that they had discovered or they had done some search and seizures at the office of SML, for which they were still working on. But what's important is that even though you don't find it expressly in the official document from the OSP, when you read what Sami Darko, who is the Director of Communications and Strategy at the Office of the Special Prosecutor, put out, he says that he is aware that this docket is near completion and hopefully it will be submitted within this week to facilitate the process of extradition. So if that's anything to go by, which of course he is the man who has been engaging us all through all this time, it means that within this week, that docket in question should be given to the Office of the Special Prosecutor for the processes to progress, Alfred. But
you also would find those who take the position that it's interesting that today that the Deputy Attorney General has publicly stated this information of almost 2 months ago. This request of this same document, 2 months has been pending, and the day that the Deputy Attorney General speaks publicly, we have the information that that document will be available this week. Be that as it may, that's some good development. And we are looking forward to it. We'll look forward to it before the end of the week and see how things play out. But then again, Kofi Bentel is joining us on Zoom right now. He's the Vice President of Imani Africa. And Dennis, stay with me because there's some very important timelines to this case that we'll have to run through. And then also, Kofi Bentel is a private legal practitioner for the purposes of this conversation. Mr. Bentel, thank you for joining us. You have been consistent in your position that if the OSP is, quote unquote, in your words, serious about prosecuting this case or getting Ken Ofori-Atta to answer for the said charges against him, you would rather recommend the OSP takes the option of trial in absentia. That if Ken Ofori-Atta is not coming, then the process should begin. The OSP has reiterated that that is not a path they are going to take, Mr. Bentel, even in the midst of all this, with the Deputy Attorney General stating this frustration.
Well, if you're asking, so I hear you say the OSP says they will not consider a trial in absentia. Yes. And I hear you ask if that is the right thing to do. Mm-hmm. My answer is simple, and indeed, I have said this long ago, many months ago. Unfortunately, I was vilified for it. The OSP is not a law unto himself. All right? And they should appreciate that they are creatures of law. They have to ask reasons, whether you agree or not, is not able to be here. And there is sufficient provision within the law for you to proceed in the absence of the person. Months now, in fact, almost a year now since the government took office, we keep hearing things about this particular case. And I have sat down to say, I don't see the sincerity of the OSP in trying to pursue this thing. There's a difference between persecution and prosecution. There's a difference between trying to find if somebody is guilty or not under law and trying to put them before the public, disgrace them, and have a spectacle. And sometimes I feel like the OSP wants this public spectacle of Ken Ofori-Atta arriving, he being arrested and questioned, and the hula baloo that goes back and forth with it, maybe hoping that people come and sit at Yoko or something. I mean, that kind of theatrics is not what we should be looking for. And when I made the point earlier, my point was that there is no impediment in the way of the OSP to try Ken Ofori-Atta if he has a case. So the question is, does he have a case or not? And if he has a case, they should just prosecute and prosecute in absentia. In any case, Ken Ofori-Atta's lawyers are here. They are speaking to the OSP. They are prepared to cooperate with the OSP. They are prepared to be in court to defend Ken Ofori-Atta. The only thing that the OSP doesn't seem to have, which he's absolutely bent on, is the presence of Ken Ofori-Atta. And it must be noted that the presence of Ken Ofori-Atta is not necessary for his prosecution. In fact, he can be present and refuse to talk. So I don't get the point of what the OSP is trying to do. And that is why I raised the point that I raised earlier. I said that if I was lawyer of Kenneth Fariata, or let me put it this way, anybody who is lawyer of Kenneth Fariata, if he is a good lawyer, will not advise Kenneth Fariata to come to Ghana, because the OSP clearly does not look like they are serious in a proper prosecution, because they can go ahead. It looks like they want Kenneth Fariata to just come to Ghana for them to just make a show of him for whatever reason. And you must appreciate that the man says he is sick. So sick that he's undergoing all kinds of surgeries and medical observation. So why do you want to do that? There's a process. Use it. They don't have a right to say they will not proceed in absentia simply because Kenneth Fariata refuses to come. By law, if a crime has been committed and they have a case under this circumstance, they have I agree with the frustration of the Attorney General. Thinking about the OSP law, we thought we were going to end up the Attorney General still reserves the ultimate right of prosecution. He has handed such to the OSP. In this particular matter, I think he can take certain steps to assert himself, because essentially, even though the OSP is independent, the Attorney General is the one that extends their authority to the OSP. They should be able to sort this out, behind, closed doors. But I totally disagree with the OSP on this matter.
See, and you've been consistent on this, and the fact that if they're serious, as you have just indicated, a trial in absentia is one that they should immediately be looking at in the midst of all what's happening. And then we are on the Interpol's side now. Kenneth Fariata is still there, right? As on the red notice.
Yes, so this
correct?
Is live page. When you look at it closely, you find that Kenneth Fariata is still there. Oforiatta Kenneth Nanayao, 65 years old, Ghana, and this is a live page.
There have been a few others who have been added.
Yes.
Over the period.
Yeah.
Because previously, when you go on this red notice page, it was just Kenneth Fariata. Now you have.
He used to be on the first page, but now he's on the 5th or 6th page. So, a lot more have been added. So you hear the Deputy Attorney General say that, putting somebody on the Interpol red notice in itself does not mean much, except they're able to carry through the extradition processes, which they are looking forward to having the docket from the Office of the Attorney General, from the Office of the Special Prosecutor, so that they can go on with that particular process.
I see. Now, Adam Senano is the co-chair of the Citizens Movement Against Corruption. Senano, you hear, thank you for joining us, Stephen. You hear Kofi Bento make the point strongly, and he's been consistent about this, that if the OSP is serious about doing this, getting Kenneth Fariata to answer questions for the said charges he has slapped on him, then a trial in absentia should have kicked in by now, and to avoid all of these delays. Now, the Deputy Attorney General comes out publicly to talk about documents they have requested over the last 2 months they haven't received from the OSP's office, further strengthening Kofi Bento's point. How does all of this put together get to you?
Well, first of all, I disagree with Kofi. I don't see why anyone should insist that the fact that the OSP at this stage is pursuing Plan A does not mean that Plan B is not an option that will be taken on board at a particular time. And I don't think that anyone should be seemingly directing or suggesting to the OSP what it should do or not do. All options are open to the OSP. OSP has decided to take Plan A. In the assessment of their case is best, prosecuted with Kenneth Fariata here. Mind you, Alfred, you and I, if we're invited by any of the security agencies, would not have this laxity or flexibility of you should be anywhere and so forth. We would have made an effort to come back. I think that if persons as high profile as Mr. Kenneth Fariata made a commitment to show up and did not, we should be asking what is going on here. I don't see why right from the beginning they didn't broker a relationship between the OSP and the medical team so that there was understanding around what was going on. In any case, I think it's ludicrous for anyone to seem to suggest that the OSP will want to undermine its own case. Look at all the effort they've put in, how they've been lambasted, told they were being insensitive, told that they were raiding the man's house, all this kind of stuff. You think that at this stage they would frustrate their own case when they wrote to the government to say, please put in this. The very day he failed to show up, let's give them some space. I'm aware that by the end of this week, the special prosecutor will be speaking. The things that have been leaked by, I don't know who, you would note that the response of the SP as to what they were going to do in terms of the two requests. One request was nominate some people to be on the team and then provide a docket. For some very intriguing reason, the part that the response had to give on the docket was not provided. It's only the fact that the OSP has said, yes, these are our 2 members who will be part of the team. So why should anybody assume that there was no feedback on the reportage or the docket? My understanding is that they actually said that, look, there's some new evidence we have gotten, especially when we raided the SNL offices and picked up their servers, etc. We think it is very important to add it to even strengthen much more what we have. So we'll work on that and submit it. So this is much ado about nothing, and I think that it's actually out of place for anyone to seem to suggest that the OSP will undermine its own case. Let's give them this week, and you'll see what will happen.
Well, but if that information wasn't provided, as you said earlier, why didn't the deputy...
Which information wasn't provided?
The specific case of the... You cited the information in the leaked document.
It wasn't provided at which point?
And the portion where the responses that you referenced.
Yes, no. You will see that what was leaked, they give up to the 2 names that was provided by the OSP, but don't provide the page or the part of the response that dealt with the request on the docket. And I'm wondering why anybody would do that. This is an unnecessary tension being brought up. I mean, this is a case that is sensitive. We should not be having these kind of leakages. I'm even wondering whose interest is being served by all of this.
Well, but the Deputy Attorney General didn't even mention that at all.
Did he mention what?
The specific is the one that you question that, I mean, that aspect that was concealed.
I'm not relating this to the Deputy AG's comments at all. I'm just saying I'm actually curious as to who leaked it and why they kept that part of the response out. It has nothing to do with the Deputy AG.
I see. But then again, does it in any way raise concern that all this while there appears not to be progress in this particular case? And then the Deputy Attorney General coming out to now state that, look, for the past 2 months, documents have been requested and they have not received the said document. It sends a certain signal, doesn't it?
No. I mean, listen, the case is being handled on oral. One of the comments that has been made by the AG or whatnot is that citizens, slow down. Look, we need to take time to handle these cases carefully. Yes, an OSP that on the 2nd of June when Mr. Ofrete didn't show up, same day, wrote to the Chief of Staff. The Chief of Staff responded by the next day. AG wrote to the AG the next day. AG writes to them on the 13th. By the 20th, they had responded, already nominating their people. I mean, clearly, of course, this is not a group of people who are sitting back just waiting for things to happen. But they have said that there's much more information that harvests that persons as well. Other cases other charges they want to file. And so, I mean, if they have nominated the 2 people and the AGs had actually nominated these 2 people and the 4 people were meeting, I'm sure that join would have resolved this. I don't think this is a matter where suddenly somebody should suggest that the OSP itself is frustrating its own case. Mind you, for all purposes of the actual court case, it's still going to be the OSP's case because under the law, it is their mandate. So whatever happens at the end of the day reflects on them and their capacity. So I think this really is out of place. I'm wondering who wanted to engineer some confusion or tension and for what purpose. I'm not quite sure what this suggestion that they are delaying when in other cases, including the oral cases, we are saying we need more time to do things right. I really can't get what the intention is behind this.
Well, we'll say the assurance from the OSP's office is that by end of week, these documents that the Attorney General is asking for will be provided. So let's all keep our fingers crossed to see how things play out by end of the week.
I think it's even more important to note that a lot of the things on the checklist that is required for this extradition request have already been done and provided by the OSP. Let's not seem to suggest that it is just a docket. There are several other aspects of it which had already been provided. You know, so if you don't give the narrative right, it will seem as if they've just been hanging on, and you know, that's not the case at all. That's not the case at all. And they actually gave a response saying that, look, on the 12th of June, mind you, I think that, no, it's rather the 10th or the 12th of June. The response came from the request came from the AGs on the 30th. They said they raided the SNL facilities on the 12th of June and have discovered additional information that they think is relevant.
It was actually on the 10th of June, yeah.
Hi. So here's the point. So the thinking of the logic is very clear. So why should anybody want to rush when even in 6 months, other cases they should handle have not been handled?
Well,
Meanwhile, the AGs, with all the YOCOs, NIBs and whatnot, has the mandate and capacity to be looking at economic crimes and other aspects. Have dockets been produced on those as well? Well, I think that this is unnecessary tension at this point. Well, let's allow the OSP the space to proceed and to finish it. At the end of this week, they'll give us the additional information that is required. The AGs should file on our behalf, and let's move the process forward.
And let's see how the coming days will look like on this. Thank you so much, Mr. Ano. Thank you for joining us. Adam Senano is the co-chair of the Citizens Movement Against Corruption. There are some timelines, Dennis. We have to round up on this one.
Yes, so we know that early June, the OSP secured a red notice. We have just checked that the former finance minister is still on the red notice. 2nd June, the OSP officially, this was the first time the OSP had written to the Chief of Staff for this extradition process to begin. The Chief of Staff transmits that extradition request to the Attorney General because the Attorney General, in the scheme of things, is the central authority when it comes to matters of this nature. 13th June, the Attorney General then writes to the OSP again, confirming receipt of the request and then also making a request on the Attorney General. 2 things the Attorney General requested for. That 2 OSP officers to join the prosecution, then a copy of the investigation docket. And this is where the matter started. 20th June, OSP replies, provides the names and the contacts of the 2 persons to join the prosecution and giving an update. Mind you, this is the narrative of the Office of the Special Prosecutor, saying that after giving the names, they also included an update on the OSP. And they said that they were still organizing the case dockets after a search and seizure operation at SML offices on the 10th of June. This is the information that many say has been missing or is missing from the correspondence that have been put out in the public.
Yes.
So in September, the Attorney General followed up again, requesting the docket. Now, 16th October, that was when the document started leaking. The OSP has denied responsibility for the leak. He says that he's not frustrating the process and he will continue to work with the Office of the Attorney General for the way forward. But it's instructive to state that when we hear the Deputy Attorney General speak on this matter, what he says is the fact that they've requested for the docket, they have not got it till date. The OSP has confirmed that yet indeed till date, they have not been able to give the docket because there's a reason. But they say by close of week, that docket will be given.
We'll see how the coming days will look like on this. Dennis, thank you so much. Dennis Poperiwedama Esquire. This is Ghana Tonight. We're going to stay with the OSP after this quick break because that's coming up next. Double trouble for the former NPA boss, Dr. Mustafa Hamid, and 9 others. That's the question. The special prosecutor ups the stake with fresh charges. What's new? What's different? We'll dig deeper after this quick break. Stay with us. Welcome back. This is Ghana Tonight. We're live as well on 3FM 92.7. Now, coming up next, the Office of Special Prosecutor has filed fresh criminal charges against the former Chief Executive Officer of the National Petroleum Authority. That's Dr. Mustafa Hamid. Now, there are 9 others as well who are in this. The amended charges bring the total to 54 counts, up from the previous 25 after the discovery of new evidence from ongoing investigations. Now, but what's new? Dennis Poberwadam, Esquire, was still with me in the studio. Now, I hear the lead counsel for Dr. Mustafa Hamid, the former Deputy Attorney General, Joseph Benka, say that the OSP is on an efficient expedition because of these 54 counts right now, the charges we're seeing. But let's see what's new in there.
Well, so when you look at the charge sheets, the old one and then the new one, which is yet to be, they had to take their plea on, you would find that in respect of the old one, the counts were 25. Now you have more than twice that number, 54, on the new charge sheet. Also, when you look at it closely, you'd find that the old charge sheet involved an amount of some 280.5 million Ghana cedis. The new one, the figure is more, because we are looking at some 290.5 million Ghana cedis, approximately. Right. Again, when you look at the old charge sheet, the amount involved was only in Ghana cedis. It was cedi denominated. But then you now find that there's also another money which is in the picture in the new charge sheet, which is some 332,407.47 United States dollars. So these are the things that stand out in those charge sheets. So what it essentially means is that now there's more money involved, and there's also more money generally, but even when it comes to denomination, you have some other money, which is dollar denominated also involved. And that informs the reason for which the charges have now shot up from 25 to 54. The expectation is that the next agenda date, it's going to be a long day. And I say so because when they are taking the plea, they read every single thing on the charge sheet. The charge sheet is 41 pages.
And every single word
yes, they will do that. Read. I recall when they were doing for the 25, all those who were in the courts, they looked very tired even by the time they got to count 5. But you had to sit through for the 25 counts to be read. Wow. When we go to court the next time, it's going to be 54 charges.
54?
Yes, and all the 10 accused persons will be in there. As to when it applies to you, you plead guilty or not guilty. So that's essentially...
But in the old charge sheet, they've pleaded not guilty to all the counts.
Yeah, they pleaded all guilty. So you can reasonably infer that with respect to this, they likely will plead not guilty. But that does not take away the fact that they have to be read to, and they'll plead to the charges one after the other. It's going to be a long day on that particular day.
Indeed. And this is one that we're keeping an eye on and see how things will play out. Dennis, appreciate you for this. And stay with us here on Ghana Tonight, because the coming days is one to watch, especially with the promise by the Office of Special Prosecutor to the Attorney General. And on this matter of Ken Ofori-Atta, we'll give you some more updates on this.
NSA in court.
And indeed. Absolutely.
Within a week.
True.
Yeah.
And that's one to look out for as well. Dennis Poberwadam, thank you. On behalf of the team, we do appreciate your company joining us tonight as well. We're back again tomorrow for yet another conversation at 10 p.m. on Ghana Tonight. It's always proudly brought to you by Flamingo Paint, Simply Superior, Sasso Sesa Spray and Qualcomm Tum Tum Precom. 6 a.m. tomorrow, join the New Day team and the Sunrise team on 3FM 92.7 for some more of this. I am Alfred Ocansey. Have a good night.
Ghana Tonight is brought to you by Flamingo.